Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And guys, for me, this is a pretty average episode of NXT, though you know how I guys say average by NXT standards. Even when that is the case, it's still better than most Raws and SmackDowns. But the main event and the closing segment, I think, were absolutely spectacular, as was the reveal of the NXT General Manager. So two great highlights from a pretty average show overall for my liking. Ashton, what do you think of it?
Yeah, that's pretty much the best way to describe this show is highlights, because the show as a whole is relatively skippable. It's NXT though, so it's only 1 hour. So if you're skipping 30 minutes out of the 55 minutes that the show is on, you might as well just watch the other 30 minutes and just kind of take the whole thing in as an experience, because it's not really worth skipping half of a 1 hour show. So it wasn't a bad show, but it wasn't an excellent show unless you count the two segments in question.
Right. I actually am really glad that you said that, Ashton, because I was in a conversation with my friend James, and he says he wishes that NXT was 3 hours instead of Raw, and I said I don't. You know, the fact that it's only an hour, I think, is really to its benefit. And I know that we're bound to get matches like this sometimes, A, because not every show can be perfect, obviously, and B, because of their roster rotation system, which you and I are big fans of, and this is just a natural consequence of that system. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just an hour, which is why I think I tolerate when NXT is just average, or maybe even below average on those exceptionally rare occasions, than when Raw would achieve that standard, or SmackDown, even with our quick reviews now on TWitWoW, because, you know, those shows are longer, and when I see one bad segment, I dread, oh man, we have X amount of time left, what are we going to do? Whereas NXT always seems to pull a rabbit out of the hat, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. That being said, let's get into our first segment.
Heat of the night, and you know what? It's a nitpick, and I only do it because we've said in the past we make an exception for NXT women. Didn't really care too much for the promo work between Bayley and Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean,
tonight.
Bayley is always kind of cringy on the mic, but Charlotte was at her worst on the mic tonight, man.
And you know what the funny thing is, though, guys? I even joked with Ashton that as bad as these women were, they still deserved an Oscar compared to the Bellas for me from this past Monday. So it never got that bad. But, you know, they were trying to promote their match. Honestly, where NXT really does promotion best, I've noticed, and that's why another reason why I can't wait for TakeOver II, is when they do just the secluded interviews, like talk about your match. Talk about what it means to compete at TakeOver. Talk about what it means to compete for the NXT World Championship. When they get them in those kinds of environments, that's when they are at their best, because I think there's a comfort and a relaxation there. And I would have just saved the build for this match for that. Just have Bayley keep getting the wins, maybe get some side comments from Charlotte, you know, backstage. But that face-to-face confrontation, I really wasn't the biggest fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but that's how this segment started with Bayley, and it was just as cringy as ever.
Yeah, that's true. But at least with Bayley, I could forgive it, because I almost feel like awkwardness is part of the gimmick. So even if it is genuine and she has genuine nerves, it's almost a good mask, because it's like, well, she's a fangirl and she's just so overwhelmed by the fact that the thing that she's been dreaming about, she's this close to taking it. But with Charlotte, though, trying to be the really professional, almost trying to come off as a veteran in comparison to Bayley, at least in her personality, you know, as the heel, she was just, I really didn't care for her mic work at all. She really hasn't improved any to me. If she has made any improvement, it's only barely at best. But I still think they should have a great match at the event, so I'm looking forward to it.
It's so weird, though, dude, because, like, she'll cut an... how do I put this? She'll cut a super heelish promo like she did tonight, and she was yelling at the fans, telling them to shut up when she's talking. But then she'll do the woo thing and totally play up to the crowd, and I just don't get what planet that makes sense on.
See, that's where I was concerned with Charlotte because don't get me wrong, I love NXT, I love the talent, I love the fans, I love the bond that the talents and the fans have. But if there was one thing that I thought was questionable about Takeover, it's that Charlotte had a really babyface title win celebration. Hugging everybody, even hugging Natalia. I thought it would have been great if, like, while she was crying and stuff and her and Natty hug, she still lays Natalia out and Ric Flair's celebrating it and Brett is just looking disgusted and keep the heat on her. The booking of Charlotte has been very weird because one week it looks like she's trying to be a babyface champion and yet another week it looks like she's trying to be a heel. I think it's totally dependent on her opposition, but she can't be that way. Not when you're a champion, not when you're in a position like this. I think it has to be consistent no matter who you're staring down. And yeah, Charlotte playing to the crowd 1 minute but then silencing them the next. I mean, you're contradicting yourself through your actions. So it's just really bad.
Yeah, I sign on to this as a nitpick. So how's that?
There you go. So that was it for me. Ashton, do you have any other nitpicks or any other any legitimate heats of the night? So what's going on with you?
Absolutely not.
There you go. So with that said, let us get right into our NXT review, and we open up with a sacrifice as the Ascension take on another set of local competitors.
Yeah, did you pick up the names of these guys?
No, I did not.
So did they literally come out to the name Jobbers 1 and Jobber 2?
They might as well have. I actually, instead of Jobbers, I just called them Victim 1, Victim 2.
That works.
Yeah, this was a really quick match. I honestly...
And welcome to the ring, the challenging tag team consisting of Local and Jobber.
We don't want to do this. We were told we were going to get singles tryouts. The Ascension is hungry. Oh, don't hurt me.
This come on. Be. Your name is Local. His name is Jobber. Of course you're a tag team.
I didn't know. And then they hyperventilate and pass out because the Ascension are just beastly. They murdered these guys.
Yeah, I honestly kind of feel like the crowd's getting sick of it, though.
And you know what? That's why I think the title change will be coming at the right time.
Yep.
And if not a title change, let me put more specifically, a legitimate title match.
Well, because, I do think it'll be a title change.
I do too, and you know that. But just to really be specific, I think the crowd is very pleased that they're at least getting a legitimate title match from the Ascension.
Yeah.
Well, which is a shame because as much as I've loved this title reign, I can understand where they're coming from because it would have been so much better to me had they squashed maybe one of the teams that didn't make it any further in the tournament. Like say if they faced Big Kiss and Enzo Amore, that would have been pretty cool. Or just another team that failed to make it any further. But no, just two more local competitors. But it just makes me all the more confident that when they have their clinic at TakeOver II, that it'll really go over well and really be a terrific tag team match. So yeah, I really don't even remember anything about this match, Ashton, except the finish with the Fall of Man. Is there any other spots that you want to know besides that? Because I honestly can't remember any.
Well, no, I actually didn't see the entire match, so I can't really add to it. But after the match, there was a bit of a promo that I think you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, there was. The crowd, I wouldn't say that the crowd was heckling them a little bit. I was afraid that they were going to have a little bit of a rough start, but the Ascension was able to gain control. And Victor pretty much said, in, I think he said 2 weeks' time, the Ascension are going to finally, have a championship match against the number one contenders of the NXT Tag Team Championship Tournament. But then he says, but the question is, are they really contenders? Or are they just victims? And then he hands it over to Connor. And then Connor, being a total ham, he's like, total annihilation. We will rise. And they get a pop. So, good stuff.
What kind of pop, John?
It was a positive pop. It was a loud pop. They dug it. I think they like the Ascension. I'm willing to guess. Yeah, they've just been totally baby faces.
Was it fuzzy pop?
I think so.
That's good to know.
Yeah, roll with it, man. But
Up next, we had our official announcement of who the NXT general manager is, though. So here's this.
yeah, let me give this one off to you since I just covered the Ascension segment. What did you think of the pick?
Oh, I love it. I mean, even last week we were talking about who it would be and trying to figure out, and one of the names that we did throw out there was William Regal, and so happy to see him getting this kind of a role. I think we were throwing out names like William Regal, and I even mentioned Booker T, and I really do think that the best choice here is who they picked, which is such a rare thing for me to say because generally the WWE tends to go with the Paul Heyman theory of they'll give you anything you want except for the thing you want most. But this time they gave me the thing I want most. So thank you, WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
the only unfortunate thing that I have to say about this is that it was ruined for me on Reddit because some douchebag Mark spoiled it for me 3 days ago.
And admittedly, without even intending to, I clicked on an article as well some time ago that spoiled this and other things, but I have stayed mum for the good of Ashton here and fellow NXT fans, which has been hard, believe me. But Regal is an excellent choice. Without a doubt. I think he's wonderful. I think when he did his stint as Raw GM, that was great stuff, and he had a personality and he was heel. I expect him to be far more subdued here, which I think ultimately will be to his benefit.
Dude, the whole turning out the lights gimmick was just flat out brilliant.
Oh, dude, I got legitimately mad at Regal when he did it. Like,
yep.
There was one night he did it on a Raw where there was a cage match going or something, and he's like, take it off the air! Take it out! And he had, like, snapped, and I'm like, whoa. It's a shame because I've heard every day since that ended and since he got his suspension that was meant to set him up for a WWE title run and what could have been. There are a few guys not getting theirs that really hurt me because I know that not everybody can get there. Regal stings. That's how much I respect him.
Yeah.
So to see him in this role feels so good because Regal is somebody, I think he's an invaluable resource, whether he's a backstage teacher or an on-screen persona. He's just a guy you want around. And I think he's going to do exceptional in this role. And he was already starting to prove it because he was about to make an announcement for the NXT TakeOver Championship bout, for Adrian Neville, who his next event is going to be. He invites Neville down to the ring, and he's about to tell Neville what the challenge is, except he gets interrupted.
By Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze, and Sami Zayn. And they all come out, one after another, not that quickly. They each said something before the next. But regardless, eventually it gets to the point that Adrian Neville is just like, I want to defend my championship against Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze, and you, Sami Zayn, and they're all excited, and I'm excited because I want the freaking Fatal 4-Way so bad. Yeah!
And we're getting it, dude. This is our confirmation. We're getting our freaking Fatal 4-Way.
Yes. And, John, I know you want Tyler Breeze to win, but my cards are on Sami Zayn.
And you know what? This is a discussion me and Ashton have been having for a while, and this is something I would love your feedback on, guys. Who are you pulling for? Okay, let me ask you this. I'll do the classic because I always love doing this with my friends. Who do you guys want to win the NXT Championship, and who do you think most logically will come away with it? Because to me, who I want most to win is Tyler Breeze. Now, logical, I'm waffling a lot. Because after the events of tonight, which we'll get to later, and that'll be great.
See, and the ironic thing here is the guy I want to win most is Sami Zayn, but the guy I think is going to win most likely is Tyler Breeze.
Yeah, so we're kind of like the inverse, because my most want is your most logical, and my most logical at this point is the guy that you most want.
So your logic is telling you Sami?
Yeah, after tonight, yeah, and you know what? It has been a long time coming for him, and I've said that to you multiple times, and I feel like this would be the way for them to do it for him while protecting everybody else, because it's that multi-man atmosphere. So, I don't know. Right now, yeah, it is Sami Zayn, but we've got a little bit of time left. I'm just glad that this match is happening. Guys, let me tell you something. This gets 15, 20, maybe even 25 minutes, which I doubt. But, I mean, at their events...
Dude, it's a 2-hour show. I would absolutely say it could get 25 minutes.
And I was just about to say, because I feel like Adrian Neville and Tyson Kidd from the first TakeOver got quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
And they were a 2-hour event. So NXT can be very generous to its main events because they know that that's how they end up delivering.
Right.
So if it gets that time that me and Ashton anticipated getting... Oh, I don't even know. Like, I think that's a legitimate match of the year contender waiting to happen right there, those four personalities.
Yeah.
So I am so stoked. Regal, I think, is going to do great in this role. Ashton, is there anything else you want to say about this?
I'm genuinely curious as to how that match is going to go, just from like a flow standpoint, because how are they going to keep it organized but still chaotic at the same time so that it feels like there's a lot going on, but you don't really have to focus on more than one thing at a time?
Right. See, I was curious about the same thing because all of these guys, like even Tyler Breeze, can do that really quick pace, even though he's not really associated much with like a lot of high flying. Yeah, he has like the athleticism, obviously. But Kid, Zayn, and Neville seem far more aerial based than he is. But
Yeah.
everybody has that quick paced offense. So I'm wondering, like, how are
It's
you
like
gonna
a sliding scale. It's almost like a gradual, like a gradient almost, because on one end you have Adrian Neville, who is the absolute definition of a high flyer. His finishing move is a high flying move. He has all kinds of crazy flips and tricks that he does in the ring to get an advantage. He is the definition of a high flyer. And then you have Sami Zayn, who's kind of a high flyer, but he's really only a high flyer. He's only really referred to as a high flyer because he works at a really fast pace in the ring, and he's all kinds of spinny and flippy and stuff. But he doesn't really have any top rope moves or anything like that. But like he does a suicide dive, so apparently that makes him a high flyer. And then you have Tyson Kidd, who again, not really technically a high flyer, but on that same note, he can do like the blockbuster, which is technically a top rope maneuver, and he has the elbow drop, which is technically a top rope maneuver. So it's like there's this gradual scale, and then you get down to Tyler Breeze, whose only real high flying maneuver is if he decides to come off the top rope with a beauty shot.
Right. And, you know, to me, seeing those styles that are just going to come together, I just have to wonder how the pacing is going to be. If it's just going to be like watching a car crash, you know, live from beginning to end. If they're going to try and keep it slow at first and maybe have Kid and Breeze isolate Neville and Zayn with like a lot of double teams until they make the comeback, and then it goes into that pace. So it'll be interesting, the structure of this matchup. Whatever they choose, though, I'm confident in all four of them to pull it off, and that's the good news. Because it's not like there's one style that I think would be to their detriment and they should just stick to another style. I think they can make any type of structure work. So
I would agree with that. All right, so up next, we had our first singles match of the evening, Sasha Banks versus Bayley. Sasha, amazing as always. Bayley, adorable as always, but mostly just Sasha being amazing.
yeah, Sasha, I love the theme music because if I'm not mistaken, actually, that was a new theme she debuted tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, I like the older music, but I'm going to go on ahead and say that. I feel like I've said this before, so it probably isn't the first time, but I'm going to say it again. Dude, Sasha Banks is the Dolph Ziggler of the NXT women's division.
Absolutely.
She is so underutilized.
I know, man. I mean, I love her look. Like, the attire, too, she had tonight. I'm like, wow, Sasha just knows how to be the complete package for her character and everything else. Her ability in the ring, just how she carries herself in general. She needs a call-up. Absolutely needs a call-up. I think, and here's the thing.
See, and I disagree with that. I don't think she needs a call-up now. I think that she's due for a call-up, but to call her up now, I feel would definitely be a mistake, because look at what we've got going on in the Divas division right now with Paige and AJ. You don't want to insert a third wheel into that yet.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. If we were to insert Sasha now, you do have a point, because she probably would be on Superstars and main event most of the time. Probably not get a lot of Raw and SmackDown action. And when Sasha gets inserted into the division on the main roster, I want her to be a player, if not immediately, certainly close, because I feel like she could carry it along. That said, I just think she's fantastic. Bayley has definitely, of course, grown on me. I started out thinking she was all right. Now I'm really getting into the prospect of her potentially being the next NXT Women's Champion.
Which is weird, because I don't know. I just can't get into Bayley, dude.
Interesting.
I haven't been able to. I wish I could, because it seems like everybody that is a fan of hers really loves her. But I just don't get the appeal. Like, people say, oh, she's so adorable, but to me it's just cringy, and I wish I could get into it, but I just haven't been able to. And I feel like if I haven't been able to get into it yet, and just knowing how much it's working on a universal level, which means they're probably not going to tweak it at all, I don't think I'm going to be able to get into it at any point.
Interesting, because I know what you're talking about, because I've had those moments where I'm just like, eye roll, seriously, Bailey. But you know, she has made progress with me, and the thing is, dude, the crowd really is hot for her. I think
Yeah.
she will make a fine babyface, you know, NXT Women's Champion. And really, to me, depending on how much longer Sasha's gonna stay around, I would have Sasha be the first and you know most immediate feud. And really, in my fantasy world, I would have her drop it to Sasha, and then Sasha would be the next one to really have a reign of longevity after 2 brief
See, and the
reigns.
crazy thing to
But
me is, I know Bailey's had this huge build and stuff, and she's connecting with the audience, but honestly, I think Sasha would make a better next women's champion than Bailey. I think Bailey is significantly better off as a chaser than a champion, because you put the title on her and it's like, where does she go from here? There's nothing really interesting about her character except that she hugs people. Like, how is her hugging people going to make her a better champion? I just don't understand how there's appeal behind her winning the championship. I think that Charlotte needs to retain, even if it's by devious means, even if she pulls a nature boy and does something cheaty to retain. I think that I really genuinely believe that Sasha is somebody who makes just as good of a champion as they do a challenger, whereas with Bailey, she is leaps and bounds better as a chaser as she would be as a champion.
And I could see why you'd say that. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Hopefully her reign goes well, but you very well could be right. I mean, I've grown to feel that way about baby faces with strong booking. I've told you I feel that way about the Usos at this point, despite the fact that you probably could make the argument with how they've been booked that the tag team titles are a contender for second most prestigious championship on the main roster right now. But Sheamus was another one. I feel like, especially during his heel run with the world titles, you know, that he was a much better chaser than he was a champion. So there are people that fit that category. Bailey might be one. I will say that I really didn't care for the finish of this match. It just seemed a little bit too abrupt for me, and I know that was kind of the point because Bailey caught her out of nowhere. But I feel like the match was just starting to hit second gear, and then it ends. So, you know, she gets her with the Bailey to belly or belly to Bailey and gets the pin. Then, as we talked about in our first segment, the promos, so unless you want to touch over that again with anything, we can just move on.
Yeah, not really interested in going back over the promo. Just lots of cringes were had.
Right.
So up next, we had yet more cringe, aka Bull Dempsey. Bull has a match against somebody who I actually see a lot of upside in, that being Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah, I'm waiting, dude, because no doubt that he can sell offense well and you know, take a beating well, which I think is better than not being able to do anything well in this profession. But just like Jason Jordan, I'm waiting to see Angelo Dawkins get that push. So I could really see what he does when he has creative behind him, when he has people behind him, and what he can do, when he's actually able to have a match on both sides. Because I know you're really into Angelo Dawkins, and like you with Bailey, though, for different reasons, I just really haven't been able to get it so far, but only because I probably haven't been able to experience it yet. So I don't know. Does he have any? That's something I've been meaning to ask you. Does Angelo Dawkins have any prior FCW experience? Or
I mean, he had pretty much the same role, but without the character.
Okay.
Like, he was just generic black jobber number 3.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, he was in the Camacho. Well, I would even say he was under that. He was in like the Steve Cutler role, except, you know, he more athletic by a lot.
I see. All right. Well, I guess with that said,
I just like that he has this random, like, hipster dude character, because, like, I feel like he's channeling his inner Von Miller, who I'm sure is channeling some random rapper that I just don't know of, and if I had to guess, it's probably Kendrick Lamar or Wale or someone like that. But I don't know. There's just something about it that represents a genuine reflection in society that I think the WWE needs to find a way to latch onto.
Right, and I hope they do. You know, that's why, especially when guys are on a downward slump. The great thing about NXT is you never know when a week is going to come where the creative behind it tries something different with them. Maybe Triple H pulls them aside and says, "Hey, I saw you doing this backstage," or "I thought maybe we could do that after seeing some of your presentations," and then they come out with a gimmick and they get pushed. I mean, look at Aiden English. I always like to refer to him getting squashed for the longest time, then started getting the singles push, and me and Ashton really weren't the hottest about it, but then he teamed up with Simon Gotch, and we get the Vaudevillains, which is that they're increasingly becoming, I think, my favorite NXT tag team. Believe it or not, I love the shtick, and I love the two of them together. So keep plugging away, and you find something that works. I hope Angelo Dawkins gets his shot.
See, and to me, the Vaudevillains, what makes them special isn't so much the gimmick, because to me, I could do without the gimmick, but obviously it works, so let them have it. It's the in-ring that makes them special. Because they are, and especially the fact that now all of a sudden Aiden English is whipping out a frickin' senton off the middle rope. Like, thank you. Can I please go back in time and make you do this stuff a long time ago so that I can hitch my ride to your wagon?
Exactly. So hopefully we'll be saying that soon about Angelo Dawkins and other talents. I mean, all it takes is 1 week, because that's how it starts. Yeah. And then if it builds, there you go. So,
there you go, my
tonight would not be that night, because if he was trying to
wasn't the night.
Yeah, no bright lights, no big city, none of that stuff. Because
no hype crowd.
No hype crowd. Nope. Well, Full Sail's always great, but the important thing is Dawkins tried to get the train on the tracks, but it was derailed by a bull, and of course by that I mean Bull Dempsey.
That pun was just so bad, John.
It's me, man. If I don't give you bad puns, then something fishy is in the air. But
God.
I will say this. I will say this, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, because I know, like you, me, James has said things to me about how much he hates Bull Dempsey. Like, it's definitely there. I liked his screen promo. I thought it was good. I like that. He said, Mojo, you said I don't take you seriously. You say you're hyped, but that's why I don't take you seriously, because all you are is hype. I think he said I'm gonna beat you so bad that you're not gonna need a doctor. You're gonna need a priest, I guess, just for to hope that I have mercy on you, or something along those lines. So, I was about to say Bull. I think he's starting to connect the dots just a little bit. He's still a major work in progress, but he had a good moment with me tonight.
Really?
I enjoyed it. I mean, the squash match was whatever.
To me, John, here's my thing. I liked the content of the promo, but that doesn't mean anything, because that could just be the writers. I wasn't into the delivery, which is all that he probably really brought to it.
Right.
The content of the promo was on point. I mean, I love what he said. I agreed with what he said, because of the whole Mojo Rawley overrated thing that you and I have been saying for how long now. And really, I don't even know if I would call him overrated anymore, because people stopped caring about him a long time ago. But regardless, yeah, the content of the promo, what he was saying made sense, but how he was saying, the delivery was just below average, maybe average at best.
I can understand why you'd think so, and really, it's hard to argue with you. In fact, I won't even try, because I guess I'm right there with you. The content was great. Delivery, I mean, it wasn't atrocious. I don't want to make it seem like it was the worst thing ever.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's atrocious. Like I said, it was like below average to average at best.
Right. I think he's trying to really force that menacing quality, but I feel like with some of the best characters, that almost comes naturally. Like, you don't give it to yourself. The people watching you give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, nobody ever asked Alexander Rusev to shake his head more to make him seem more menacing. He just is a scary dude.
Right, or even guys that and again, I only say this because he's one of my favorites ever, and I love his work. Even a guy like Mick Foley, when you watch enough of his work, when he starts out normal, like rocking in a chair or something or whatever, like you're just on edge because you're thinking, oh man, when's the cork coming off the top? When's it gonna go down? And I think with Bull, I think he's trying too hard to give himself that same quality. Oh, like, look at me, I'm a destroyer. Look at me, I'm a killer. People are supposed to say that about you. That's when it gains credibility. You can give yourself a million titles in the world. It's not going to mean jack. It's only when people start saying the same thing about you that it matters. So, let your work speak for you.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, Bull just does not connect with me at all.
He doesn't really connect with anyone. at all. I'm still worried that he's going to get some kind of a push, just so you know. And I'm really looking forward to my conversations with James when that happens. I can just picture it. James, Bull Dempsey has won the NXT Championship. Yeah, I'm no longer watching NXT. So we'll see what happens. He squashed Dawkins here. Got the bulldozer. That's all anybody needs to know. No confrontation with Mojo after anything like that. Although apparently they are having a match at TakeOver II. Cue Shutter effect, and I have nothing else to say about this.
All right, up next we had a backstage interview with the Legionnaire, Marcus Louis and Sylvester Lafort. They accept the hair versus hair match with Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy, and then they speak to each other or argue with each other or something in French.
Yeah, not really much I can add to that. They accept the match. They speak French. Can't comment on it because I don't know French. And there you go. I think they're a great comedy heel act. They could do something. See, that's the funny thing even about those guys. I wouldn't write them off for WWE's tag team division on the main roster because they're a comedy act that, much like the Spirit Squad, which I considered in a way a comedy act, even though they did get more serious recruitment only because they were large in numbers, that I could see these guys winning the tag team titles and maybe continuing in their own way that anti-American foreigner sentiment that they've capitalized on with Rusev. So I wouldn't write those guys off. I think there is a place for them.
Yeah. I don't even know what to add.
Yeah.
But, let's move on to our main event of the evening.
Yeah,
I know it's crazy. It doesn't feel like it should be showing up already, but yeah, that's what happened next. Was Tyler Breeze and Tyson Kidd versus Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville tag team match.
I really enjoyed watching how Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze worked together. I thought they were a great heel pairing for this one night. There was one spot in this match I really liked. Neville was trying to fight back in the ring, but Kidd got a super kick to his head, and then when Breeze made sure the referee wasn't looking, he nailed a super kick to Neville's head as well. So Neville got kicked in the head twice. Great back and forth. I think the match really hit second gear when Sami Zayn got the hot tag. And then he really came unglued, did a double cross body at one point. And yeah, this was just a really fun tag main event.
Yeah, it was high energy, high octane, fast paced, really just great stuff throughout. And the only real complaint that I have about this match is that there was a freaking commercial during the match. I really can't stand when WWE does that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. What I loved about this match, though, was because we do have a misfire in this match. Because Sami Zayn goes for his Yakuza kick in the corner, which they've given a name to, but I don't remember it. Do you remember?
Hell of a kick.
Hell of a kick.
I think that's what it is.
I think it's something along those lines. It sounds similar to that, if not that. He hits Adrian Neville.
Pronounce it weird. Maybe they call it a haluva kick.
Maybe, because it sounds something like that. So
yeah.
I'll call it the haluva. He hits the haluva kick on Adrian Neville. Now
I'm just going to keep calling it a Yakuza kick, just so you know.
Yeah, that's fine. Hits Adrian Neville. Seems really apologetic about it and whatever. Like, what did I do? What did I do?
That was a great moment, though, dude. Sammy's acting was on point there because he was, like, genuinely concerned for Neville. And then I think it was either Breeze or Kidd. I don't know. One of the two stepped to him like they were going to try and do something to him, and he was just like, screw you, man, I'm tending to my friend, and he hit him with a blue thunder bomb. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. So even like the closing moments, it wasn't abrupt. We still got a little bit more in-ring action. But the heels did come out on top, right? If I'm not mistaken, they did end up capitalizing and getting the win.
He hit the blue thunder bomb, but then he got thrown out of the ring, and Kidd covered Neville for the 3 count.
Yeah, so, yeah, Kidd had to be very proud of him.
They didn't do any of their offense to Neville. He was out for that long just from that Yakuza kick.
And here's what I was getting ready to say about what I loved, because so often when we have the miscues, we have where the partners, especially when one's the champion and one's a very prominent and threatening challenger, they have a confrontation. The challenger tries explaining himself. They try and salvage friendship, but they come to blows. I wouldn't have minded if that happened here. I would have accepted it. But I thought what they did instead was so much better. Because Zayn comes back in. they're all squared away and like bodies are strewn everywhere, and Zayn stands tall. Out of the corner of his eyes is the NXT Championship. And rather than tending on Neville, because he's still out, he's done, everybody else is strewn, picks up the belt and he poses with it. And I loved it. No confrontation between him and Neville, which is smart because I think you have compelling TV for next week. You just have Sami Zayn in front of the entire NXT crowd posing with that world title, and just that look on his face. You were talking about Sami's acting ability earlier, demonstrating concern for Neville. That face when he held the NXT Championship, that was the face of a man that just wants it so bad.
Well, and on that same note, let's take a minute to just establish that all three of those competitors were down because of Sami Zayn. He hit the Yakuza kick on Neville. That took him out, and he hadn't recovered since. He hit the Blue Thunder Bomb on Breeze. That took him out. And then after the match, like you said, he hit the Yakuza kick on Kid. So all three of the guys that were down and just laying around borderline unconscious were there because of Zayn. Like, he is a one-man wrecking crew in here.
I have worried at times, particularly my worry was at the worst when Zayn was in his feud with Breeze and trying to pursue contendership, that he might turn heel out of desperation. But this is exactly why he doesn't need to, because I find a babyface who genuinely starves for that first world title to be far more compelling.
Yep.
Far more compelling. That look on his face.
And dude, I'm the biggest Sami Zayn fan, but when he wins the title, I don't want him to hold it for more than like 3 months.
No, because he's another one, and I don't say it because I don't think he would be a bad champion. I think he'd make a great champion, but the fact is he's so good when he's in that chaser position. Like, that's when he's at his best.
Exactly.
His most identifiable. Like, dude, the way he looked when he's gazing into that title, it's like, I don't know, an addict coming into contact with something that they know they shouldn't. Or just somebody, maybe they just got kicked in the teeth.
You know what I would do? I would let him hold the title for 1 to 3 months and then put it on Steam.
Yes, that would be
I mean, I absolutely love Kevin Steen as a chaser, but he is one of the few guys that can pull off being a babyface champion, and I think that even on NXT he would be a heel, which would make him even better champion because he's an amazing heel champion.
If the negatives didn't overwhelmingly outweigh the positives, because again, I just think Zayn is so great at selling desperation, this and that. I would be so tempted, but I'd feel so bad about it, which is why I would decide against it, to give him like that Christian-esque first world title reign, like loses it the first NXT taping post-event.
No, but dude, I completely see where you're coming from, and I don't even disagree with you that much. He needs to have a short title reign because the longer he holds that title, the less sympathy he gets, and his entire character is basically built around sympathy.
I think he is the most sympathetic character in WWE, period.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make.
Because here's the thing, and I'm a Daniel Bryan fan, so this is not meant to be Bryan bashing, but even when he was going against the Authority, he was still winning. Maybe not the championship when it mattered, but all other threats, he was getting the win. Here with Sami Zayn, he can't win a tag tournament. Can't win friggin' tag matches. When it's number one contender matches for the world title, he usually comes up short, and when it's for the world title, we'll forget about it. This guy is a guy that just is what he is because he's a loser. Hell, even Cesaro said, like, I taught this man how to lose. That rivalry was really built on the fact that Sami Zayn needed to win.
Better at everyone else or better than everyone else at it ever since.
I think the only guy that comes close to really tugging at my heartstrings when he loses is Dolph Ziggler.
Yep.
Yeah, is Dolph Ziggler.
And look how freaking over he is, too.
Because he won the title, and honestly, Dolph's another one. I'm not even sure if he'll make it out of Night of Champions. If I knew the greener pastures awaited him, I would say I'd be okay with him dropping it, but I really like seeing him with the title, so I'm feeling kind of that protectiveness right now. I'm in that phase. Sami Zayn, though, even though I'm rooting for Breeze, make no mistake about it, guys. Like, I would pop big if Zayn won, because I still, and I've said it so many times till I'm blue in the face, he should have ended Dallas's reign. But the fact that he didn't, I think, only lends itself to what we're talking about now, that sympathy. Why should Neville come in and finish what Zayn clearly started? But now he's getting his chance again with 3 other guys, and when the odds are against him the most, can he finally pull it out? It's a great freaking story, and it's so simple. that's another thing. I've been complaining so much on Raw, like, why are the Bellas doing this and why are these people doing that? This is such a straightforward story, and look at how sucked in you and I are. It doesn't take much.
Mm-hmm. I love that Sammy has inserted himself into this picture without lifting a finger, because as you recall, the only reason that he is a member of this discussion for the NXT title is because he came to Adrian Neville's rescue one time when he was getting double teamed by both Kid and Breeze.
Right, and that's another thing that I like too, Ashton. He was able to insert himself into this picture without sacrificing any of his nobility as a person or any of his baby-faced qualities, so to speak.
Yep.
Didn't have to get his hands dirty. He was helping a friend, and his good intentions got rewarded, which I think is a positive lesson for the younger members of the NXT universe that would want to latch onto that. See, good things, they really don't go unpunished. And there you go. He's in the picture now. Can he go all the way with it? Again, I'm rooting for Breeze, but at the same time, my heartstrings do belong to Zayn. It's he just has that quality about him where you hate to see him lose because he shows you in that moment when he's experiencing the loss just how bad he wanted it in the first place. And man, can we all identify with that at one point or another, and that's what makes him so damn good.
Exactly.
So, kudos to you, Sami Zayn. You're a freaking beast. We freaking love you. We love all four guys. The other three guys, you don't have to get up. I know you got roughed up pretty bad there. So that's our NXT review. I mean, Ashton, do you have anything else you want to say about Zayn, the main event, anything?
Let's get into our next segment.
All right, high spots and low shots. And my high spot, I mean, just continuing that. Well, actually, no, we do low shots first. That's right.
Indeed, we do.
Low shot is Angelo Dawkins.
Okay. That's understandable.
Yeah, got squashed. He's not a guy that really gets much TV time, and really he's a guy that I think is another reason why it's great that we have the roster rotation. Otherwise, I don't really know if he'd even get time at all, if I'm being honest, except to be that hand, which he was here. Get squashed, and yeah, nothing more to say than that. He lost, so.
Okay, well, my low shot is Adrian Neville, because now not only does he have to defend his title against 3 other men at TakeOver in a match where he doesn't need to be involved in the decision in order to lose the title, but he got taken out by his own partner tonight, and it made him look incredibly weak because he got kicked, and then Sami Zayn had the time to execute a Blue Thunder Bomb and get thrown out of the ring by Tyson Kidd, and Neville still ate the 3 count. That was brutal.
You know what, dude? I'm not trying to infer anything or come up with any crazy fantasy booking, but it did cross my mind because he was out for a long time.
Yep.
That because he received 2 super kicks during the match to the head and then this Yakuza kick, maybe they'll play up some kind of a concussion angle going into his title defense.
They might do that to kind of protect him, to keep him looking strong so that he doesn't look any weaker when he does lose the title.
Right, because, yeah, I noticed a lot of focus was on Neville's head tonight. I'm not really the most comfortable with them doing these concussion-based angles because of certain things. I mean, the obvious
It's just
cases,
such a cop-out, dude. Like, it feels like they're taking
the
easy way out, because this is, like, the same thing they did with Dolph. Like, I mean, I know he had a legitimate concussion, but then when he came back, he obviously didn't, but they still played up the head angle, and it's just such a cop-out because everybody now is aware of how serious concussions are. So the WWE says, well, obviously concussions can prevent somebody from participating in a football game. So what if somebody did participate in a wrestling match with one? They would be at a pretty severe disadvantage. So it's like they use concussions now to keep somebody looking strong while they lose.
Right. So I'm wondering if they will go with that angle. If they do, yeah, well, we've already established our thoughts on it. And if they don't, great. Because I want 100% Adrian Neville. I don't want any of that ambiguous bull crap where it's like, well, what if Neville was at 100%? No, you've got 4 guys in there. And another thing that I just want to touch on with your low shot, this is a matter of pride, too, for Neville because he asked for this. So he asked for it. And if he doesn't come through like he didn't tonight, he's going to have really nobody to blame but himself because Regal even said, he even said in the promo, which I just remembered, that wasn't even his original idea. That's not what crossed his mind. So kayfabe speaking, Neville just set up his own fate here. So not a good night for him.
Exactly.
High spots, yeah. High spots along that same vein. I gotta go Sami Zayn, and not just for the rhyme scheme either. He did great, laid everybody out, posed with the championship. He's got all the momentum right now. I don't really know what that translates into for Takeover II and his championship chances there, but for the time being, he looked great tonight, and
Yeah, and
it's
I mean,
great to
to
see a
me,
guy like
what
him.
really makes him the high spot is that he found out that he was a part of the title match that he had literally no reason to actually get. Like, he did not earn this title shot at all.
No, he did not, and that is something that was like I had a nitpick about because you know how I would have booked it. We talked about it, I think, like 2 NXT TWitWows ago, where I said I would have had Regal say, "Okay, I can understand your interest, so why don't you prove it tonight? You'll go against Tyler Breeze or Tyson Kidd, or hell, maybe even I would have had Adrian Neville because seeing Adrian Neville get beat in a one-on-one context, I think would have really been great, not only for Zayn as a contender, but for the match as a whole. Because it's like, wow, he really can be beat. We can't miss this. Because if he can't win a one-on-one match, what are his odds when it's just 3 guys in the ring at the same time along with him, making a grand total of 4? But it didn't happen. Just got thrust in there. Still a great night. So that's my high spot.
Absolutely. I'm going to kind of take the spiteful route here, and I'm going to make my high spot Bayley because she won a great match. She found out that she was the number 1 contender for the women's championship, and she's going to have a match with Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, enough said. She's got all the momentum in her corner, and she's talking about how this is her dream. When we see baby faces like this, I mean, you really can't say what history shows us because it seems pretty down the middle. Some have ridden the wave all the way to the championship, and it's the dream realized. Others come within an eyelash, but they still fail. Whatever case Bayley is remains to be seen, but I guess just have to wait and let it play out. I'm intrigued though when she does finally become champion because I do think she's due for one. Will she be a better chaser or will she be a great champion? That'll be an interesting question answered. So that's that. Anything you want to say about NXT before I close this out?
Absolutely not. Close it out, my friend.
All right, guys. This has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube, discuss on Pweetoff, and we will see you again for our Friday night SmackDown review, where, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe yet again, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper are set to take on Big Show and Mark Henry.
Except we don't do SmackDown reviews anymore.
Oh, God, Monday night. Oh, you know what? Monday Night Raw review where we recap SmackDown, where that match is a thing. And Raw, I don't even know what's happening on Raw. I don't think they announced anything for next week. So
No, I don't think they did.
You'll find out when we find out.
Yeah.
Peace out, guys.